rally. Canola up $1 to $3. November up $3.10 at $798.30 per ton. Gains in Chicago soy oil and European rapeseed futures provided spillover support, although Malaysian palm oil was lower on the day. The November contract is trading just below the psychological $800 level after moving above that chart point in overnight activity before running into some resistance. A lack of fresh weather concerns across Western Canada and the looming harvest did temper the upside. In the U.S., soybean, corn, and wheat futures are all higher. Soybeans underpinned by shifting weather forecasts, the November contract up 17 cents at $13.47 per bushel. The latest weather outlooks are now calling for hotter and drier conditions across the Midwest this next week. That's raising some concerns for crop development. Good recent export demand and supportive chart signals contributed to the strength in soybeans. Corn also underpinned by the hotter Corn Belt forecasts, although corn is less vulnerable to the heat at this time of year. While recent rains were beneficial for development, the December corn contract up 6 cents at $4.92 per bushel. The USDA announced flash export sales of 112,000 tons of corn to Mexico this morning, contributing to the gains. Wheat futures, they are higher across the board, seeing a correction off of the contract lows hit yesterday. Minneapolis spring wheat up 12 cents in December at $8.15 per bushel. Kansas City up 16 cents in December at $7.57 per bushel. And Chicago wheat, it's up 21 cents in December at $6.36 per bushel. The ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia was back at the forefront of the wheat market today, with more attacks from both sides, although grain does continue to move out of the region for the time being. Dryness in India was another supportive influence, with the country reportedly in talks to buy Russian wheat. That's a look at the ICE futures and U.S. markets for Friday, August 18th. In Winnipeg, for MarketsFarm.com, I'm Phil Franz-Warkentin.
Outstanding capacity, innovation, and the industry's highest density come together in a New Holland roll belt round baler. Available at Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John. Whether you make 4x5 foot, 4x6 foot, or 5x6 foot bales, there's a roll belt right for you. All models feature wide, durable pickups and smooth feeding systems for faster baling. Integrated precision solutions help you make smart baling decisions on the go. Stop by Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John today.
The opinions expressed during this show do not represent those of this station. If you've missed any of this show, you can follow the podcast at energeticcity.ca. Now, an in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Moose Talks with your host, Doug Craig, on Moose FM.
Welcome to the show. A little later on, we're going to be chatting with Snehal Mistry, who owns Merwin Optical, but he's also the vice president of the North Peace Cricket Foundation. They held their annual County Cricket League Cup last month, so we'll chat about cricket in Fort St. John, and apparently he's brought some props to show off if you happen to be watching the video, so that should be lots of fun. But first, you may have noticed that you can't see news from energeticcity.ca on your Facebook or Instagram feeds anymore. That's because Meta, the company that owns those social media platforms, is blocking Canadian news organizations like energeticcity.ca from sharing links to news articles in response to the federal government's Bill C-18. To talk a bit about the bill and Meta's blocking of these articles and the impact it's having on local news, we're joined now by energeticcity.ca and Moose FM owner and general manager Adam Rayburn. Adam, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to, I guess, this side of the microphone on Moose Talks. So if we can briefly, I sort of outlined it there, but tell us a bit more about Bill C-18 and exactly, if you can, what's going on with it.
Sure. So Bill C-18 received royal assent at the end of June. It is a bill that the Liberal government put together. And the basic concept is they are saying that because Facebook, Google, and those are the primary ones, Facebook, Instagram, Google, are sharing content from news organizations and making money off of that content, they should be paying news organizations for use of that content. So that bill received royal assent in June. It will go into law at the end of the year. And so we're in this period right now where they're still working through exactly what the rules, regulations are going to be. We'll see what those are probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But this has then been Meta's reaction to that bill, blocking all news. So not obviously just us, but all news. You can't even see international news now on Facebook. So they've even gone so far as to block anything from the large news outlets around the world.
I mean, this is obviously, we've been talking about this a lot around the station over the past, it's got to be most of this year, really, when we first heard about this bill. I didn't know about the international news. I didn't realize that was also happening, because we thought maybe it would just be Canadian news organizations. But you might see news stories about Canada, but from, say, CNN, which is based in the United States. But you're saying it's news in general that seems to be blocked.
If you go and look at any page of a news organization that you may have followed or one that you like to follow, you will not see it at all. And if you try to share a link, that's probably the bigger part, right? Is you as an individual user can't even share a news link, which I know has already caused some issues with the folks evacuating from Yellowknife, and I'm sure also down in the Okanagan with what's going on there. And that's, I think, some of the major concern is what happens when emergencies happen, and sharing information so that your friends, family, and just everyone else can see it. So it's more than just our page is gone. It's still there. You can't see anything on it, but you also, as the end user, can't actually share news on your profile as well too.
And again, I mean, this isn't just energeticcity.ca. This is the big ones in the country, CTV,
Everybody.
Global, your newspapers,
and
everything.
they even blocked radio stations. And we, as Moose FM, are one of the few that's still on there, because we appealed it, saying, well, we don't share news on our social media profiles, and they actually did overturn that decision. But there's a lot of radio stations you can't see also as well on social media.
Wow. Now, this is all Meta. This is Facebook and Instagram, the two they own. What's kind of happening on the Google side of it? Because I know Meta from the start has sort of said, well, we're not cooperating. There's no way. But Google seems to have been a bit more willing to discuss how they can sort of make things work in this situation. That hasn't worked out so far, but what's it looking like from Google's end so
both
far?
companies have had objections to the bill. Google has definitely been more open to discussion. And I think the major part that is a little bit more frustrating with Meta's decision already, because again, the bill hasn't come into effect yet, right? So they're not being hurt by this bill at this time, is the regulations still haven't really come out. So we don't know the fine details of exactly how this is going to work. And so Google has been a little bit more, we'll share our concerns, we'll talk with you, we'll negotiate with you. They haven't quite gone so far as to pull the trigger to say they're going to remove news from Google search. So that's a positive, is at least they're kind of at the negotiating table. Whereas Meta's basically said, no, we're not even going to talk about it. So the positive there is Google is at least still at the table, and Meta's just said, no, don't want to talk.
So essentially, this means in the future, if Google says, well, we're gonna definitely block news, if you search up Fort St. John local news or something, it's not going to show you anything. It won't connect you to energeticcity.ca or the Alaska Highway News or CJDC, right? It'll just
and same thing. Anyone. We still kind of don't know the ins and out of how it would look if they even go forward and do it. And that's kind of where we're at. We're just in this gray period right now where we just don't know what is going to happen and what might not happen. And so that's where, probably to one of your further questions, it's more, we really just want to encourage people to understand that they can't rely on those services to get news. They need to start going and finding it for themselves.
So far, I wonder if we could talk quickly about what you've seen, the impact it's had so far on kind of what's happened. Because of course, we share news articles from energeticcity.ca. We advertise from the website energeticcity.ca. Have you seen a big change in the number of people who are viewing energeticcity.ca because we can't tell them to go visit our website on Facebook anymore by clicking the links?
Yeah, we definitely have. And I know that's been universal. I was on a couple phone calls earlier this week, Zoom meetings with other publishers in Canada, talking about the bill and what has happened with Meta in particular. And yes, we've definitely seen a drop in traffic. It's probably in the range of 30% less than what it was, and we're kind of still waiting because it's not as simple as just saying yesterday was lower than the same day last week. It also depends on the stories that we write, right? If there's a more popular story, it might not matter whether it's on Facebook or not, right? We are still finding people going to the site. There's still traffic there. There's still lots going on. It's just we've also kind of started to see a pattern where it's a little bit delayed, right? Because if you've made a conscious effort to go to the site to read any articles that we publish, you're probably doing it at night or first thing in the morning, or maybe you're subscribing to an email that we send out, right? And so you're the habit of like you see it on your Facebook feed and click on it and read it instantly isn't happening anymore. It's more you're making that point. So we're seeing stories being read later. So not immediately when they're published, but maybe a day later.
Interesting. Now, there is a side to this where, if I remember kind of just reading the bill quickly, agreements can be made between companies and Meta and Google, perhaps to come to some sort of compensation sort of agreement, I guess, where they would pay you to do that. Now, there are some companies in Canada that already had this before this bill came out, and they were bigger. So can you kind of talk a bit about what that might look like from the standpoint of a small news organization? Because you can sort of imagine that it would be much easier for a Global News or a CBC or a Bell Media to make an agreement with Facebook because they're enormous and they own news stations and whatnot all over the country, as opposed to you where you own one and it's here in Fort St. John.
Yeah. So I have my feelings on the bill, and I don't know that it was necessarily the right approach. But we're also in a position now where, yes, there were publications across the country that already had agreements with Google and Meta. Some had agreements with both, some one or the other. And some agreements, well, all the agreements, were all secret. No one knows what they are. No one knows what the dollar amount is, what was in those agreements. And that's, I think, the bigger challenge from a integrity and journalism standpoint is that you just didn't know, right? There was a rumor that one large publication was getting a third of their expenses paid for by Google, right? And depending on your thoughts on all kinds of different topics, I don't think that's fair for no one to know what those deals are, right? And then where it gets even more complicated, where at this point I don't, again, support the bill, but we're at this point where, well, if other people are receiving funding, the question is still in our world, will we take the funding if we ever get it? That's still no one, like this is, sorry, I'm going to slight tangent here. I don't know what this means to us in any dollar amount, right?
Yeah.
Like, no one can tell me, well, this is going to be $100 a week or a month or $10,000, right? And that's the frustrating part, is like, I don't know if this actually matters to us at the end of the day, right? If we want to participate.
You don't know if that's going to be codified as part of the bill's sort of law. It has to be at least this or whatnot, because those agreements were just made between two private organizations previously.
And so to your question, I think the challenge, of course, is always going to be for any independent organization, and I think this applies to all business across the board, right? If you are a larger corporation, you have more people, more staff, more influence. You have the ability to make these deals and organize these deals with, in this case, Google and Meta. Whereas it's just us here, right? And I have no idea whether we're getting any money or the right amount. Again, but there's still, we don't even know how this could affect us and if we want to participate in it, because there's also those questions as well too, and that remains to be seen. And so there's really is. There are so many unanswered questions and so many things, and other than the fact that we've been told a lot of the minister from the federal government side of things, the Facebook people, they're all on vacation apparently right now, so nothing's happening right now. But in the next 2 weeks, all of it could change again, right? Because rules come out or suggested regulations come out, they'll take some feedback, and so we don't know what could happen, and it's changing day by day.
So, and if you really want to just be able to continue to read the news from us, from others, from larger organizations, Canada wide, whatnot, what should we be doing? I guess it's making a point to visit the website.
Making a point to make sure that you still are informing yourself, right, and being a part of the community, and so it is going to be go to the website of the news organization that you like to read and that you like to follow. Depending on the news organization, most now do have an email newsletter that you can sign up for. Some will have mobile apps. There's a variety of, everybody's got a little bit of a different technique, but mostly those are the main ones. And then you will still find news on things like, well, we'll call it Twitter, whatever it's called today, X, and TikTok. There's still videos and those types of things, right? So the big thing is definitely, we have to get out of the habit of relying on Facebook to show us a story. You now have to actually go and look for it. So bookmark your favorite news site and check it out, daily, weekly, whatever the case may be in your time, in your world, that you can make some time to do that.
All right. Well, I mean, we'll be obviously keeping a very close eye on this as things continue to change, and we'll see what the government introduces with more tangible, I suppose, rules and whatnot to come in the next weeks. Adam, thanks for taking a few minutes to chat with us about this. It's Adam Rayburn, the owner and general manager of energeticcity.ca and Moose FM. We'll be right back to talk about cricket in the North Peace right after this on Moose Talks.
Moose FM is everywhere with the Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Emily, your Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser host, and today I'm hanging out down here at the North Peace Fall Fairgrounds. Now, this weekend, they are hosting the North Peace Fall Fair, which is one of my favorite summer events. It's a great way to wrap up your summer before heading off to school or going on your last vacation. I know, it's all very sad. This is actually my last day, so I'm very happy to be here. And if you're wondering what's happening today, well, they have their light horse shows. Right now they're doing dressage, and it's a very cool display of horsemanship. Also, if you have some cool crafts that you would like to show off, then come on down and enter them today into the handicraft fairs and all that. You can display it and maybe win some prize money. It's a very cool idea. Also, remember that entry fees are $20 for the weekend for adults, $10 for the weekend for kids and seniors, and $10 per day for adults, and $5 a day for kids and seniors. And then camping passes are $40 each. So come on down to the North Peace Fall Fair and check out all the amazing things they have happening here.
The Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser is fueled by FSJ Return It, United Rentals, Rhythm Auctions, Fort St. John Co-op, Home Hardware, and Lake Point Golf and Country Club.
Jandel Homes will never sell a home at a deeper discount than right now. That's because, well, we're kind of screwed. Jandel Homes Show Home Clearance is on now. We are grossly overstocked on brand new homes for immediate delivery. You'll save thousands, guaranteed. Honestly, just make us a ridiculous offer and we'll probably say, oh, you're killing me, but yeah, sure, we'll take it. Jandel Homes is considering all options at our Show Home Clearance sale. Come take advantage of us today because Jandel Homes is pretty desperate.
When you have information about a crime, you may hesitate to come forward. You don't have to. You can still give information without revealing your identity. Crime Stoppers tips are helping police track down criminals by harnessing the power of the electronic age. Go to crimestoppersfsj.ca and click on web tips to submit a tip online. To continue to submit information on that crime, just type your optional password, linking your follow-up information to your original info. Crime Stoppers does not trace the origin of the tip. Crime Stoppers, a community working together to help police solve crime.
This August, experience 2 unforgettable days of music with Fred Fest. Set against the stunning backdrop of the mighty Peace River, this August 25th and 26th, they'll be showcasing the talent of Kyle McKerney. Mercy, if you're gonna pack up your cooler and camp chair and make Fred Fest the highlight of your summer. Grab your tickets today through the Fred Fest Fort St. John Facebook page. Fred Fest is brought to you by Highmark Oilfield Services, Strad, Hillbilly Sales, Armor Lubricants, Alpine Glass, Great Northern Bridge, Silver Bullet Trucking, Titleist, and 100.1 Moose FM.
Listen to over 500 radio stations from anywhere in Canada with Radio Player Canada, the must-have app that's as Canadian as you are. Funny, well-informed, dominating the music scene at the gym or in the car. Enjoy every type of radio station, anywhere, anytime. Listen through your phone, Sonos, Google Chromecast, Google Home, Amazon Echo, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto. Download the Radio Player Canada app today. It's where Canadian radio plays.
Watch this show live on Facebook or download the podcast at energeticcity.ca.
Welcome back to the show. Now we're talking about cricket, specifically cricket at Fort St. John in the North Peace, as it is a very popular sport in North America, but it's not as popular as hockey, baseball, that sort of thing. But they did have their County Cricket League Cup recently. So to talk all about cricket in the North Peace and what things are going on there, we're joined now by the Vice President of the North Peace Cricket Foundation, Snehal Mistry. Snehal, welcome to Moose Talks.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks for walking over from next door at Merwin Optical there. So we know that's your day job, kind of fitting people for eyeglasses, but you also play a lot of cricket when you're not doing that.
Absolutely.
Can you try to explain cricket to us for people who've maybe heard of the sport but have never watched it played or understand how it's played?
Yeah, it's pretty close to like playing baseball, where from one end a bowler throws the ball, the other end the batter hits it, and the fielder tries to catch it or stop it. It's a bit more intense because the ball is a bit harder, and the fielder doesn't wear a glove. But overall, pretty enjoyable, and it happens pretty fast.
Yeah, I know I was holding the ball there for a second. If you want, just hold that up in your hand so we could see it if you happen to be watching it on the video. It's kind of the size of a baseball, but you dropped it on the table and went, whoop, and I held it. It's much harder, so I can imagine you get some slap on that bat with it, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. The bat needs to be knocked in before you can even try and play it, and that's why this thing, you kind of knock it in quite a few times.
I see.
And then it's ready to be played. Yeah.
So you use that device to kind of
knock it in.
Make the bat ready for hitting the ball.
Absolutely.
The pitch is circular-ish, right?
Yeah, the ground is circular. We call the pitch, actually the pitch is where we actually pitch the ball, because unlike baseball, the ball needs to hit the ground before it reaches the batsman or the batter. So that actual pitch is like 20 meter by 3 meter wide. And that has to be, there's a few different styles, but the one we use here is like concrete underneath, and there's a underlay, and then there's a mat over top of it.
I see.
So it's smooth, but at the same time a bit hard.
Yeah, so the ball has to bounce once before the batsman can hit it for it to be, I guess, a legal pitch,
Correct.
I suppose. Eh? Okay. And then the rest of the field, as I said, is circular. Are
Pretty
people
circular.
all around, or is it kind of like baseball where there's no players behind home plate, but they're kind of out, kind of in all the other angles
Yeah,
to
it
catch
is
the
at
ball?
360 degrees, and that's where you can run. We call it run, or there's also a boundary or home run, but it's all the way around. It's not like just on one side.
Okay. And is scoring similar to baseball? You score one run, you get a point, or is it a little different?
Pretty close, yeah, and then you just run back and forth. So you run from one end to the other, you run, you hit the ball, you run to the other end, it's one run.
I see.
And then there's also home run, which we call 6 runs, when the ball goes over the boundary without touching the ground.
Okay, so if you knock it out of the park essentially,
basically, yeah, that's
then you get 6 points
runs,
for that.
correct.
Okay. Is that, in your opinion, a lot more difficult to do than it is to hit a home run in baseball?
Oh, I haven't played baseball, so I wouldn't say that. But yeah.
Does it happen a fair amount when you
Yeah,
play?
it does. Yeah. There's a few different formats, and then there's more intense, more relaxed, and then I'm not sure if you ever heard, but the cricket, the actual original cricket, we call it Test cricket. They go on for 5 days.
Oh my goodness.
It's pretty
Yeah.
pretty long. But
I was going to mention that because I think I've heard cricket scores. They can be up in the hundreds in some cases, right?
Yeah. So there's a shorter format that we play, like mostly in general in Canada too, which is we call 20 overs, meaning if you pitch the ball 6 times, that's 1 over. So you pitch basically 1 inning 120 times.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
wow.
It's a still shorter format, which still lasts 3 hours, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very, if you play it in its original form, or it can last.
In my school days, we used to do that, but now the things have changed, and of course, the energy levels are low.
But essentially, you'd play a cricket match over a weekend.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Do you do it in like sort of segments then? Is it like you play for 3 hours, everyone takes a break, they come back and continue? Or is the game going continuously?
So a game is roughly 3 hours, whereas 2 innings. So 1 inning, one team bats, and then the other inning, the other team bats. That lasts for 3 hours.
I see.
And then usually, because we have 4 teams in Fort St. John, we have to do 2 games. And then, for the first game, after the first game, there's a break, and then the second game. So it's pretty much the whole day.
Yeah, incredible. Well, as I said, this is a fairly popular sport worldwide, but I think in North America we don't hear about it as much.
Not really.
But how did it come to Fort St. John then?
So when I was a student, there were only like 4 or 5 of us from India. We started with some other people who worked at Tim Hortons. They were from India too. So we just started with not any of these balls, with like an actual tennis ball at the baseball diamonds. We just, just to do something on the weekend. And from there, then people joined in. And then later on in 2017, I think, in 2016, December, the North Peace Cricket Foundation was established. And since 2017 summer, we've been hosting the tournaments every year.
Wow. Has there always been 4 teams in the tournament? Or does it
there
depend?
used to be 4 or 5. There's one team from Dawson Creek. They used to come, but then after a while, it got too busy for them, right?
Yeah.
Because the first game has to start early, like 8 or 9, so that we finish it before the dark. And they opted out, and I think they have their own. But we've had people coming from like even Fort Nelson traveling just on the weekend just to play the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many people are on a team, by the way?
So each team would have a 15-member squad, and from the 15 at a time, like 11 each would be allowed to play, and
I see.
4 rests. So 4 teams, like roughly 60 at a time.
Okay.
But since all like 5 years, we have had like at least 200 players in and out. Like some of them moved, the new people came in. Yeah.
Okay. So and so essentially, this league always has 4 teams in it, all from
Pretty
Fort
4 or
St. John.
5,
I
yes.
see.
And then we do have like from all those 4 teams, we do make a team at the end of the tournament, and then they go to Grand Prairie, Prince George, Edmonton. And then also we had recently had Prince George come in to Fort St. John to play a friendly game.
I see. Why do you think this sport is as popular as it is? What do you think makes it so much fun to play?
I think it's pretty exciting. Like when the ball travels, when the baller throws a ball to the batsman, it travels at an average speed of 125 to 140 kilometers an hour.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
And it's pretty exciting. Like for me myself, I've been playing it for years, and it also is a good practice, good cardio, I could say.
Yeah.
And it's something to do on the weekend too, right? So it's
Is the pitcher might not be the right? You used a different term. The guy who throws the ball.
Bowler.
The bowler. Okay.
Yeah.
Is their objective to sort of strike out the batsman, kind of like in baseball, where the pitcher is trying to strike out the batter?
There's a few different ways they can do that.
Yeah.
And then we usually play in front of 3 sticks. We call it stumps. So if the bowler throws the ball, the batsman tries to hit it, and if it misses, and if the ball hits the sticks or the stumps, then you're out.
Okay.
And then if the batsman is successful in hitting the ball, but the fielder catches it directly without any bounce, that's out.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing like in baseball, where the ball comes to the base, and so we call it run out.
Yeah.
Where the batsman tries to take a run, but in the meantime the fielder picks up the ball and hits the sticks, then it's out. So there's a few different ways.
Okay. So you can get the batsman out by picking up the ball and hitting those
sticks.
3 sticks before they kind of run back. Okay.
Correct.
Fascinating sport. If someone's listening right now and they're like, that sounds like a lot of fun, or I'd like to get involved, what can they do to do so? I suppose the season's probably getting close to being ending here. Hey?
We are done with the internal league, but we, like from the 4 teams now, we'll be going to Grand Prairie in a couple of weeks here. They have a tournament. But if somebody wants to get in, we do also play indoors at the soccer field, the indoor soccer field.
Oh, okay. All
with
right.
a tennis ball, of course, just because, it's too hard for the indoors. So somebody, if they want to give it a try, they can always come in and try it on the weekend. Usually it starts in December. They can shoot us an email at northpeacecricket@gmail.com or look us up on Facebook, North Peace Cricket Foundation. And they can just join in.
Awesome. Well, Snehal, I'm really happy you came by with some props to show us. I can't get over how hard that ball is. I just keep imagining what that would be like to miss catching it and get it hit at you. So
it's not as dangerous, but it's fun. I won't scare anyone.
Thanks for being here, Snehal. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for inviting.
You're very welcome. That's Snehal Mistry, again, the Vice President of the North Peace Cricket Foundation. We'll be right back to wrap things up on Moose Talks right after this.
Moose FM is everywhere with the Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Emily, your Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser host, and today I'm here at the North Peace Fall Fair. I'm talking to one of the amazing dressage riders here, Emmy. Hey, Emmy, how long have you been competing at the fair here?
A pretty long time. I've got to say around 6 years.
Amazing. What's your favorite part of being at the fair?
I absolutely love the community and how we can all come together and have an amazing weekend.
That's right, you heard it here first. This is an amazing place to be. Come check it out. You'll be able to see Emmy and all sorts of other people compete in some amazing horsemanship events. And if you are looking to enter some cool handicrafts, come on down and check out the amazing booths that you can enter into. And remember, your entry fee for an adult for the weekend is going to be $20. And for kids for the weekend, it's going to be $10. If you're just looking to come down for the day, for adults, it'll be $10. And for kids and seniors, it'll be $5. Your weekend camping pass will cost you $40. And all of this goes back to helping out the fair. So it's a great day to come on down and check out the North Peace Fall Fair.
The Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser is fueled by FSJ Return It, United Rentals, Rhythm Auctions, Fort St. John Co-op, Home Hardware, and Lake Point Golf and Country Club.
The North Peace Leisure Pool has a variety of activities and programs happening throughout the year. This month, there's plenty happening at the pool for the whole family. Here's what's coming up.
Swim into summer at the North Peace Leisure Pool with fun weekly activities all summer long. Enjoy fun and games with the North Peace Leisure Pool activity leader every Wednesday at Midweek Mayhem.
For the full schedule of programs and activities at the North Peace Leisure Pool, visit fortstjohn.ca/recreation-programs. That's fortstjohn.ca/recreations-programs.
Choosing childcare is a big decision. Parents want to know their child is safe and well cared for, having fun, and learning new things. They want their childcare to be somewhere their child wants to go every day, a home away from home. And that's what you'll find over at the YMCA. Discover why YMCA childcare is so much more than you'd expect from a childcare center. It's where your child will learn, grow, and thrive. You can register today by visiting nbc.ymca.ca.
22 games, 8 teams, 5 days, 1 champion. The top under-18 female hockey players from across the country come together November 5th to 11th at the Ovintiv Event Center in Dawson Creek, BC to compete for the 2023 National Women's Under-18 Championship. Tickets on sale now at the Lakeview Tix box office at the Ovintiv Event Center, online at lakeviewtix.com or by phone at 250-782-7443. Catch tomorrow's future stars today.
There's nothing like waking up in the great outdoors. Water, trees, quiet, everything that makes your weekend perfect.
Whether you travel with a tent or an RV, listen Thursday and Friday at 7:50 a.m. and 4:50 p.m. and we will keep you updated on where to head for a weekend camping trip. No matter what direction your travels take you, there's always somewhere to check out. On the road to Liard Hot Springs, heading down south, maybe you're attending an event. Listen to 100.1 Moose FM for every detail you need with The Camping Report. The Camping Report, brought to you by Backcountry, helping you enjoy the great outdoors.
Moose Country weather.
A mix of sun and cloud expected today with a 30% chance of showers. Winds out of the west, 30 km an hour, gusting to 50 at times. We get to a high of 16. This evening, we start with partly cloudy sky, though that clears up as the evening goes on. Overnight clear, a low of 8 degrees. Sunshine for tomorrow, we'll see a high of 22, and sun expected on Sunday and Monday with daytime highs of 22.
our community first. This is Moose Talks with Dub Craig on Moose FM.
My thanks to our guests Adam Rayburn and Snehal Mistry for joining us today. As we said in the first segment, make sure you stay up to date every morning with local news delivered straight to your inbox. You can sign up for the energeticcity.ca newsletter right now over at energeticcity.ca/newsletters. While there, we've got a couple other newsletters you can check out, including the Peace Politics and Summer Events newsletter. Sign up now at energeticcity.ca/newsletters. Well, that's our show for today. Trey Lopashinsky and Jordan Prentice are the producers of Moose Talks. I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us next Friday at 10 a.m. for another episode of Moose Talks, a weekly talk show about Fort St. John and the North Peace. Be a part of the conversation with the new 100.1 Moose FM app. Download it now on all your Apple and Android devices. Just search for 100.1 Moose FM on the App Store or Google Play.